and he doesn't have any pets. However, he is an uncle to a Wheaton Terrier named Louie.
Who has his own Facebook page.
Nice. Does he enter it too?
Yeah, he posts quite often. Yep.
More friends than you?
He is rapidly growing, yes. Yeah, last week he gained about 90 friends on Facebook. Louis Narcisco, a.k.a. the Lou. You can look it up.
Isn't your wife and also your boss?
And his hobbies and interests are golf, baseball,
Let's see what kind of crowd this is going to be.
basketball, reading, going to new places. He lives in Loudonville, has been there for a year. Bernie desires to revolutionize the insurance industry. Someone here knows about me. Where I come from, the word crick is acceptable vernacular for small stream.
That's Rensselaer County.
My key to success, being in the moment with every client, every time we communicate. I give you Ryan Hanlon.
So the reason I use that for my little known fact is I had a referral, which actually came from Jim Cardinal, and the woman said, I have a crick behind my house. And I said, I know where you're from. And I actually went to high school with her. And I picked that because she said the word crick, and I don't know how far that extends, but she's like, they get this crick running through my backyard, and I said, you've lived in Rensselaer County your whole life, haven't you? She said, yes. And we actually went to high school together, so that's where that came from. So I kind of prefaced my speech right here with my 60-second commercial, and that is startup businesses. So what I want to do for you today is run through everything that a startup business should be thinking when it comes to insurance when they get started. So when you think business insurance, the very first thing that comes to most people's minds is general liability. So that's slips, trips, and falls, damage to third parties. So something that you or your business does, or something that takes place in your business to someone else. Someone walks into your shop, goes head over heels, and gets hurt. That's general liability. You are performing a function through your business, cause damage to someone's property. That's general liability. So general liability is very straightforward and is the most common form of business insurance, and is usually when people say, hey, I need some business insurance, what they're talking about. The next one is property insurance. So this is coverage for your stuff. And property insurance varies widely depending on what business you're in. So a business like Mike's, he's going to have different property coverages than, say, a business like Richard's, because the property is different. Richard has stuff that stays stationary, it's in his store, it's at a fixed location. That is one very specific type of property insurance. Mike has tools that he travels with, he takes with him to perform functions at other people's locations. That's a completely different type of property insurance. So if you start a business and you say, I need property insurance, well, just having property insurance on your business policy does not necessarily mean that you have coverage for the things that you own through your business. So that's number two. The third one is business income, and it's kind of like the redheaded stepchild of the standard business insurance policy because it's forgotten about. Business income is what's going to pay you if something happens and you can't perform your business function. So let's say with Richard's store, there's a fire or something happens, there's water pipes burst and the place he can't do business. His business operates at a specific location and people come to him for the things that he has there. If he can't perform his function, he actually has a coverage on his business policy that will pay him for the lost income. So he produces records that show over a course of period of time he makes X amount on a monthly basis, and he doesn't necessarily have a business or an increased business season, a busy season, so he can just say, I make X every month, so I'm out of business for 2 months while repairs are being done. I want to recoup that as lost, in addition to the other things that he's going to get. So those are the three main coverages, and there's a lot of other things that come specific, but those are the three main things that you want to consider when you're first starting up a business. And the reason that business insurance is so important is most startup businesses, when you ask them, well, how much revenue do you expect to make? They're going to say, I don't know, it could be 30, it could be 150. And you're like, well, that's, I understand that you haven't actually performed business yet and you're not sure, but that number that you put in the revenue of your insurance policy is what they're going to base. Now, if you have 40,000 in there, and then you all of a sudden start showing them records for 120,000 in income, there's going to be a lot more questions than if you're a little more accurate. So it does, putting a little more thought into how much you expect to make it. It's always going to be based on what you're actually doing, but if you get hit with a business income claim 4 months in and you put 40,000 on that app, even though you're projected to make 120 off your first 4 months of business, you're not going to get that 120. So you want to really be careful in how you project out your business when you're starting up. The next thing is professional liability. Now, not everyone in this room has professional liability because not everyone needs it. There are specific functions that do. I need professional liability because if what I'm saying to you right now is crap, and I give you crap advice, you can sue me and I can be held liable for that. That's called errors and omissions, which is a form of professional liability. Lawyers have professional liability. Kathy has professional liability. So essentially, you need professional liability anytime your expertise is part of your business. So when you're excavating, you're performing a function. There's definitely expertise that goes into it, but it's not a professional liability class. It's a heavy general liability class. But for me, general liability is not a major risk. For me, my professional liability is the major risk in my business because my advice, expertise, guidance, and ability to fill out applications is a big part of that. So whether you need professional liability or not is a big piece. And then the last one that I want to touch on for a startup business, because it is a conversation that I have every week with every startup company, and that's whether or not you need workers' comp, who's covered under workers' comp, and how much you need to pay. So paying someone by a 1099 does not get you out of paying workers' comp for them. It may be how you pay independent contractors through the tax code, but it's not how you pay workers' comp premiums. So workers' comp is based on the function and how that person associates to your business. So if you're a contractor and you're a carpenter and you're doing carpentry work and you're John Smith Carpentry and you bring Tim Jones in to work for you because you got a big job and Tim's a carpenter and you pay him with a 1099 and you say, I don't need to pay workers' comp on him, Tim's got his own business. Well, in that case, if Tim doesn't have his own workers' comp policy, you're going to, John Smith's going to have to pay. If work is performed, comp needs to be paid by someone, unless you can exclude yourself, and most often you cannot exclude yourself. So workers' comp is a very big issue, and if you have someone that's starting up a business, the workers' comp issue is something that you'll go around and around with, but what it really comes down to is if work is performed, comp needs to be paid by somebody. The last and final coverage that a startup business is going to have to worry about is short-term disability. Short-term disability pays for disabilities that happen anywhere, not necessarily on the job, where workers' comp is accidents on the job, disability is accidents anywhere. So if you fell at home walking up the stairs and couldn't go to work, you can claim short-term disability. It doesn't pay that much. It's like $160 a week, but it's also not very expensive, and you pay on a per-employee basis. If you have comp, you have to have short-term disability. There's no one without the other. They are not mutually exclusive. So with about probably 35 seconds left here, I'd love to take any questions. Yes, sir.
Do you recommend EPLI for startup businesses?
I mean, I would recommend it, especially if you have employees, depending on but most people don't take it. I mean, it's a very important coverage. I just had a client have a EPLI scare in New York City, but most people don't take it.
What is EPLI?
EPLI is Employment Practices Liability. Essentially, it protects your business from your employees. So employees can become very bitter and angry in certain situations. And if they come after your business, EPLI is what's going to protect you unless for discrimination, wrongful termination. You can even have someone come in and interview with you. You can not hire them, and they can say you did that based on a protected class. They can sue your business, and EPLI picks that up. Did you have a question, Richard?
So I just wanted to mention the importance of the value of the store. It's funny you said if Richard had a fire. When I first bought my store, I did have a fire. And the previous owner was grossly underinsured. And I called the insurance agent and I told them. And she was green, and of course she upped it. And she still underinsured me, and then I had my fire. So not only is income important, But if you're not sure, over-insure the value of your property. I mean,
Yes.
for the few dollars of premium.
Always over-insure. That's a good rule.
You didn't say that either.
But I'm just saying, if you're not sure, you don't get penalized for over-insuring, but if you're under-insuring, that's the ceiling.
That's
Richard,
very
you
good.
say that, didn't you? You guys said on the side.
He was a plant.
So you got the ringer sitting next to you.
Here's $5.
Yeah.